right, we are live. Hello, hello, hello. So we're gonna wait a little bit so that we don't touch ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Welcome.
But it's good to be back.
Yes. Right. We kind of skipped a week because of issues.
Yes.
Just lots of trying to get our schedules to work, and some unexpected stuff popped up. But yeah, we're here, and we hope to hear from some of you guys. So yeah.
There we go. Okay.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, today we are going to be talking about a book,
Yes.
that has inspired us. So we kind of stole a few things from it, or borrowed, I should say.
Yeah, because we want to highlight these topics for today.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you have a copy of the book?
I do. I just need to find it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying to see who's on. Is that Yoles from TG?
PG,
Yeah.
And Miss Marva Gallardo.
Oh, okay. All right. Why is that saying? I'm trying to figure out. I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because we're showing.
Okay.
Everything's good.
All right.
Okay.
So let me put this up here to show you all. I don't know. Okay.
There we go.
Can you see that better? How about that? And that's a bit small. Let me see. Then if we get bigger, then it's smaller, right? But can you see? I think you can see.
Yeah, I think you can see.
And then that cuts your face off.
That's all right. You can see them both.
Okay.
Yeah, that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me get the book.
Yeah.
While we wait just a little bit longer.
Okay. There we go.
I'm back.
Okay. We've got a few people. So might as well.
Right.
All right. So good afternoon, everybody.
How are you guys doing? We hope that you guys are doing well. It's been really rainy, right? Since I think from last year it was raining.
Oh my goodness. It feels like it hasn't really taken a break. It's rained every day.
Yeah.
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 So.
And for those people who are have to do laundry and hang it out on the line. Oh my goodness.
It just keeps getting rinsed over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to try something. So if we disappear from the screen for a second, don't freak out. We're still here. Right.
And like Andrea said, that comes out of this book that we've both really just kind of fallen in love with, because there's so much in there, so many good nuggets to receive and dig into. And I'm just real excited to be able to share even a small portion of it with you today.
So, Yours is saying that the sun is very hot in PG. We need to go to PG then.
We need to go to PG.
Yeah. So this is the name of the book, The Dream of You. I think you got a special copy, right?
Yes. I got to be a part of her launch team for the book. So I got a preview copy. And the book actually came out in January. I think it was the 23rd.
Okay.
So it is out now. You can get it in bookstores. You can also get a digital copy on Amazon. And it's a really, really good book. Yeah. And Jo Saxton is just a real dynamic woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I told, I don't know, Alita just told me, hey, I've been reading this book and I think that you would like it. And I said, okay, sure. And I started to read it, and I'm not done yet, but ladies, I think every woman should be reading this book.
Yes.
This year. Don't wait till next year, but
Yes.
this year. It is such a powerful book. And I think one of the first questions that jumped out to me was, who were you before life told you what you were supposed to be?
I know. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
And so we're going to be digging into this book. This is part one. Okay,
Mhm.
Today's going to be part one, and then we'll continue because we definitely want to share some of the nuggets and truths that is in this book, because we believe that it will be life-changing.
Definitely. And I think, we don't want to rush through the conversation. So we do want to, like Andrea said, this is just part one, because we really want this to impact you the way it's impacting us, so we don't want to rush through it.
Yeah.
But if you get a chance to get a copy of the book, please do so, because you really, like Andrea said, this year you need to read it.
That's
so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So our first thing that I guess we're gonna jump in. Let me see if I could pull up
the slides.
The slide. Bear with us. Do you want to jump straight to that one or no?
Which one is that?
When did you lose your voice? Do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, sure.
What that means?
Yeah.
There's also let's go to this one. I'll tell you what it is right now. Hold on, guys. Okay, so it says here the English word voice comes from the Latin root word vocare. I'm saying vocare. If it's not that, it's fine.
That sounds right to me.
The same root word from which we get the word vocation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Yes. I love the story that she shares in the book about getting bullied, by some girls on the playground, and how she lost her voice through the experience of what these girls were saying to her. And I think it's real important how we talk to one another as adults, but also how we help our children talk to one another, because there are some deep wounds that get imparted, when our kids are young, those times on the playground, those times when it's just kids socializing with kids. We always think of socializing as being a good thing, but there's positive socialization and there's negative socialization. And some of what's happening in schools or on playgrounds, it's negative socialization.
Yeah. And I think when you said that, one of the biggest misconceptions that is that saying when we were small, oh, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words cannot. And I think words do more than it can't break a bone, but it does create deep wounds for sure that is not visible, may not be visible on the outside. So I think that has been such a big lie or misconception or what the word is concerning that. And so we are starting at this point because your voice ties in with who you are, your identity. And so that's what she talks a lot about is identity. Who are you? What is your voice? And what have you done with it? Have you lost your voice because of past experiences? And what are you going to do about getting back your voice?
Yeah. What do you think about that? Can you think of when you lost your voice?
Yeah, she's showing me straight right away. But I think all of us can.
I think so.
All of us can look at a time when something happened to us that made us lose our voice. And I guess before I answer that, let's backtrack a little bit. When we say lose your voice, it's not your actual voice.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you can't talk, right?
Right.
It is talking about who you become almost.
Yeah, that's she says when we talk about our voice, we mean our most authentic self.
Yeah.
We're talking about the real us, not hidden, but expressed in the world around us. Our voice captures our passions, our values, our gifts and talents. Our voice is our identity in action, making its unique contribution to the world. So that's your voice is your identity in action. And whether that's your speaking voice, the voice that you use when you write, the voice that of your singing, whatever it is, it's that's part of your identity.
Exactly. Well, Kerwin Ramirez is saying hello from St. Vite.
Yeah.
All right. Hello. Yeah. So I wanted to go back over that part where it says that our voice captures our passions, our values, our gifts and talents. Our voice is our identity in action, making its unique contribution to the world.
Yeah.
And that ties in with who or what Life Uncommon is all about, because we've been talking about how all of us, each one of us, we have a gift.
Yes.
We have some contribution to make to the world. And when we lose our voice, the world is missing out on that.
Definitely.
And so there's a lack somewhere because we are unable to do that. So like for me, most of you who've been following us will know that I published a devotional last year.
It's awesome, by the way, so you need to get a copy.
And so, but that came from me trying to get my voice back, I believe, because, you know, when I was in high school, I got my voice stolen from me. I believe, or silenced, I would say. My voice was silenced from me, or silenced in me because of something that happened. And I was a writer. I love to read and write from very young, from primary school. That was a passion of mine.
Yeah.
I love reading till I would get in trouble because I was reading, and when I read, I don't hear anybody or anything.
Guilty.
And then I started to write, and I wrote a lot. But then when I got to high school, you know, there was a point where a teacher started to make comments on my writing that would say, "Did you do this by yourself?" or "Who helped you with this?" But I think the dagger to my heart was when she accused me of plagiarizing a work, you know, in front of the entire class, shared it with the teachers, the other teachers, and they all believed that, you know, I plagiarized. I stole somebody's work and passed it on as mine. And that was the day that I felt like my voice was silenced because I couldn't bring myself to write anymore or write how I wanted to, because that scarred me so deeply.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people will say, well, you know what, it's about time you get over that. Like, that should not have been something that would silence you. People tend to brush off things like this. And yes, I do agree. It's about time that I get my voice back. But for those of you who may still have a fresh wound like that, or something happened to you like that, and you're still struggling with it, it's okay. You know, you don't have to feel bad about still dealing with that issue up to now, or still feeling hurt from that.
Yeah, and I think we need to look at that too in the school system, public shaming. That just makes me so sad that she confronted you like that in front of the entire class. And I feel like she missed an opportunity in that whole situation to get to know you better, to talk to you more. And she would have discovered, you know, the raw talent that you had and encourage that instead of focusing on, you know, you're this age, you can't write like that, you know, because that just breaks my heart that she silenced you in that way and then brought shame, you know, because that's unnecessary. And
I could have been telling a different story today about that teacher. I could have said, oh, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to so and so for believing in me and pushing me to become a better writer and all of this. But instead, I have a different story.
Yeah.
So.
And that made me think of, there was one quote I wrote down: it's never trivial when the voice of any child of God is silenced. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because God gave each one of us a purpose, a reason. He gave us each a voice that he wants us to use.
Yeah.
And when those voices get silenced, that's not trivial. That's not a small thing.
Yeah.
That is a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what about you? Since
I
know, do you have one of those moments where you felt that your voice was stolen from you or silenced? Or
I do, and I felt like it happened. For me, it was my singing voice.
Mm-hmm.
I was very active singing at church. Mm-hmm. I think I started singing at church when I was around 9 or 10 years old. And so, I mean, I was at the place where I was doing solos. I was this little girl with a big voice. And I auditioned for the choir at my mm-hmm. school, and I didn't get in. She just told me she couldn't work with me. I don't even remember what her words were. She said, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that, you know, you didn't make it into the choir. Mm. And it didn't make any sense to me at all, because I'm singing every week, you know, twice a week at church. And so why can't I sing at school? And it wasn't until years later that I was telling one of my mother's sisters about it. And my Auntie Betty said, you know, Alita, that woman just didn't know what to do with your voice. Mm-hmm. She didn't know how to fit you in. And so that happened in about, that was probably like standard 4 or 5. Mm. And so when I hit standard 6, I believe, no, first form, when I got to first form, that was when there was a different music teacher, and I went to audition again, and she said it differently.
Yeah.
She said, Alita, you've got such a powerful voice. I want you to sing soprano instead of alto, because I think you'll blend better that way. Mm-hmm. And so she taught me how to blend with the choir and help me become a part of a group. And that is a teacher, Miss Kathy Nee, that I can say, you know, really had a great impact on my life, because she gave me my voice back. I didn't have to just, you know, I could do more than just sing at church. I could also sing out in public and in mm-hmm. other places. And there's nothing wrong with singing in church. I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for that training. But I also wanted to be able to compete at school and be a part of that. And Miss Nee was the one that gave me that voice back and mm-hmm. allowed me to do that.
Yeah. And so it's such a big difference in the way, you know, two women, was it two women, mm-hmm. and the difference, one decided to dismiss you and the other one said, let's see what we can do with this,
right.
you know?
Right.
And so I think even for us too, on the flip side of that, we have to be careful, you know, what we are saying to others.
Yes.
Because we don't want to be the one on the other side, you know, that is causing somebody to have their voice silenced or feel like something was taken from them based on what we said. And mm-hmm. we as parents mm-hmm. can also do this to our children. Mm-hmm. So that just came to me, that we also have to look at the other side of that and what we're saying and what we're doing to others too.
Yeah. So. Because our words have so much more power than I think we realize. You know, the Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue, and we need to really speak life mm-hmm. with our voices, with our words. Yeah.
So when did you lose your voice? I think it's a great opportunity for you to think about that. At this point, if something happened to you, what is it that you've been scared of? What have you been holding back? You know, in the past, or even now, something that you're scared of dealing with because you felt like something happened to you that caused you to withdraw and to make yourself small. I think she wrote a lot about that.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. She did. I was looking for something else. Let's see.
Okay, so we have different types of, and I've hinted at it too, about the 3 different things that can happen to your voice.
Yes.
So Tiffany is saying, it's so true. It's important for us not to silence others, especially children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. So we have here like I said, silence. We can also have our voices stolen.
Yeah.
Or broken.
Broken.
Yeah. And so Tiffany says here too, another thing is that we tend to silence others when we see that they got the thing that we wanted. Girl, you are so right.
Preach. That is so true. That is so true.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where our own envy or jealousies or comparison is definitely the thief of joy.
Yeah.
When we see that somebody has something that we think we should have gotten, it steals our joy away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we come out, and sometimes we can do that, Tiffany, in a very religious way. Mm-hmm. So, and that was one of the examples that she shared in the book about this lady that got her voice. Was it silence? Hers was silence.
Hers was silence. That was the Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because she had this Bible study in her home, but she loved to entertain people. And so when the opportunity came up for her to host women at her house, she jumped at it. Mm-hmm. But then you had some ladies that I think they were jealous.
Yes, definitely.
And so they would criticize her food, the way her house was, how she dressed, every single thing, until that lady decided that I cannot do this anymore. I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. And she quit. Like she said, whenever she started to dread the meetings, and she said when the opportunity would come back for her to do it again, she wouldn't, because she just couldn't handle that. Yeah. And so those ladies did a pretty good job of silencing her.
Yeah.
So,
and I think about, and what would have been the purpose of all that anyway? Yeah. If you're coming together to study the Bible or to have a fellowship time, why use that time to cut people down?
Yeah. I don't think they were going for Bible study.
I don't think they were going for Bible study either. They were wanting to feast on on their gossip and on what was happening. But yeah, to get your voice silenced or to get your voice stolen. The other one, it was I think there was a story about a woman who had an idea.
Yeah,
and she expressed it to somebody, and this other person presented her idea before she got to.
Yeah.
And so it looked like, that person had the initiative and she was being lazy, and so that's another thing that can happen. Someone can actually steal your voice away from you.
Yeah. And so the thing is that these things happen on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And especially for women, I think we realize it quickly that, okay, this is what is happening. But because it's so painful, or you feel betrayed or whatever, instead of addressing it, we tend to, how would you say, we just make ourselves very small.
Right.
And we quit pursuing what we were pursuing, or we push it in a corner because we feel like, what's the use?
Yeah. And I like what she says, when our voices have been taken, we redirect our lives towards more acceptable interests. Mm-hmm. We excuse the damage that they caused, and by saying we're just being realistic now, because obviously I can't do this. Obviously I'm not able. Obviously I'm, and I know we're going to use this for another topic, but whatever follows those I ams is who we become.
Yeah.
And when we think I am not good enough, I am not able to whatever, those are the things that actually get manifested in our lives.
Yeah. Let me read a little bit more down from what you were reading too, where she said, we excuse the damage caused by having been silenced by saying we are only being realistic. Mm-hmm. We downplay our gifts and subdue our talents. Mm-hmm. And instead of the life we were designed for, we live the life we think we can get away with. Or more accurately, the life we feel we can avoid more silencing. We call it safe, but in reality, it is a denial of who we are. Oh, we change our identity. We make ourselves small. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, girl, you need, yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And so, like, for me, in my case, I just stopped writing. And if I did right, I would guard it so tightly nobody could see it. And then when I would let somebody see it, I would say, it's just a little thing I wrote, it's not a big deal. It's okay if you don't like it. And like I tried to downplay that
and
so
put all
much
those qualifiers around it.
Yes, so that it wouldn't hurt me if it was rejected or a comment was made. And I think about how many of us do that, where you are so talented and then you can't even accept a compliment about it, or can go further with your gifting because you have to be small. You can't bring attention to it.
Yeah. And I really think that your voice, Andrea, is incredible. I love the way you write. I love the spiritual insights that you have. And it really does make me sad that person impacted your life along the way. And I also want to say that there is a time and place for criticism.
Yeah.
And criticism is very different than cutting somebody down and insulting them. You know, as a singer, I've learned how to take criticism. I've had different voice teachers along the way, you know, and I've had teachers saying, tell me, you know, Lady, you're not breathing correctly. If you would do it this way, that phrase would come out smoother. So when you give somebody a critique, you're also giving them something they can do to improve. And that's the difference, you know, with that kind of criticism, is that they're doing it to help you.
Yeah.
But if you're cutting somebody down all the time because you don't want them to think big of themselves, or you're jealous of what they're doing, you know, that's completely different. That's not the way God intended for us to be speaking to one another.
Yeah. And I think too, we women have mastered the art of doing that, just like what Tiffany mentioned. I think we are really good at doing that and cutting down other women and not being there for that woman. And so Mervyn is saying hello from Roots and Honor.
Hey, Merv.
I mean, MD. So, but it is true though, and I have seen it over and over. And then you would see women saying that they would share posts and different quotes on Facebook saying that we need to start being there for each other and all of that. But are we really even doing that?
Yeah.
Because almost in every single story that she shared in this book, it was, you know, a wound or something was inflicted by another female.
Right.
You know, so we talked about an experience that we remember when our voices were silenced, and she shared about hers, which was powerful because we have to make note that it can happen in the playground. Like in her case, it was the playground at her school, where these girls made fun of her, but not just once or twice, but daily, and spoke really harsh words at her, and then recruited other kids to join them. And this happened for a whole year almost, I think. And so it damaged her. And then when she went to tell somebody, an adult, they said, oh, just ignore them.
Yeah.
And at that point, she said, I couldn't ignore them anymore. It was just too painful. I was too weak from that. But I mentioned that because it could have been something that happened at the playground when you're in school, but it could also happen, like in the other lady's case, it could happen at your church. It could happen at your workplace.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
could happen in your family.
In your family, we're not immune from it based on age.
Right.
You know, it can happen.
Right. And one of the things that I was thinking about, Andrea, as you were talking about Jo Saxton's experience in the book, what she said was, they said in public things that I feared were true. So they played on her insecurities, you know, and that's what made that wound even go even deeper, because it was something she felt about herself. And they were able to box out the voice of God that was telling her, this is a God-given gift that you have.
Yeah.
And they just tormented her on a daily basis. And that is a huge trauma. You know, if you have like one big horrible thing happen to you, or you have one small thing that happens or irritates at you every single day, both of those are trauma that can take a long time to get over.
Mm-hmm. So there's another quote that I wanted to share with you guys. Let's see. So it says, it's impossible for you, me, or anyone else to live beyond what we believe to be true about ourselves.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I'll give you guys a second to
just let that one soak in. Yeah, it is impossible for you, me, or anyone else to live beyond what we believe to be true about ourselves. Mm-hmm. Think about some of those lies, think about the things that you believe about yourself. When I think about that, it's like, oh my goodness, we hold ourselves back by those things that we believe, by those things that we think. Yeah. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Those things that we keep trapped inside of us, it's like it's on a loop and just keeps going and replaying in our minds all the time.
Mm-hmm. So who are you? Who are you? Go back to this question where she said, who are you before life or someone, I'm putting in the someone, told you what you were supposed to be? Who was that? Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going, like we said in the beginning, this is going to be the part one. We're going to continue discussion, and we're going to talk about how we can get our voices back. But today we're just talking about the loss, how we lost it. And I think it's a good time, so the homework could be of us also looking around us at the women in our lives, looking at our family members, those that we come in contact with, and checking to see if we had any part to play, in the way they are responding now, or what they're putting out there. And what was it that I was going to say? Do we have a part to play in helping them to discover or to regain back their voices too, especially with the kids? Because you hear kids will say the things that they're struggling with, that they're feeling on the inside. Right. They will say that, and so that's a good opportunity to correct that now.
Yeah, to correct those messages that kids give to themselves. I think I was reading the other day that the rate we think at and the rate we actually speak at are completely different. We think like 3 to 4 times faster than we actually speak. Mm-hmm. So those things that you're thinking are powerful.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Like I shared, what was this week, Tuesday, that change begins in your thinking, I believe.
Yes.
So I think, let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. But definitely, ladies and gentlemen, for those watching. So this is what I shared this week. If you haven't been on our page or site, this is what we shared this week, that change starts in your thoughts. Mm-hmm. So like what she had said about how they said the things publicly, what she was already thinking or feeling. So we have to not allow our minds to just run free and wild and bring in all these stuff, but we have to, check what's happening up there, because it will come out in other ways.
Exactly. It will come out in other ways, and it may not always be a healthy way that it comes out. And I know that we love to go on and figure out how to fix it. But I think it's important to, like Andrea said, to do the homework and figure out when you lost your voice. Mm-hmm. What is it that happened? How are you helping your children with maintaining the voices that they have? How are you helping the people in your sphere of influence? That woman in your Bible study, or that man that you work with, or whatever. Who are you helping to reclaim their voice?
Yeah. I found one more slide that I had there. Okay. It says insecurity often grows out of past experiences. Mm-hmm. So I was supposed to add this in a little bit earlier on, but better late than never.
Yes, better late than never.
So a lot of insecurity will stem from that. the past experiences, things that people said, things that was done to you, lies you believed about yourself. So we really want you, ladies and gentlemen, to take this as a homework and to ask yourselves the hard questions.
Yeah.
Have you lost your voice? Not just the words you use, but your full God-breathed identity. Have you been silenced in your passions and purpose, in what you are living for? Have you lost your vocare, your voice, and your vocation? Were your dreams for glorious living crushed by bullies who silenced the person you were designed to be? So those are some powerful questions that she posed in the book that we are now posing to you. And hoping that you all will, ask yourselves these questions. What I really like the part where she says, have you been silenced in your passions and purpose?
Yeah.
So what is it that you've been, quiet about? Things that you've been afraid to show or to talk about because you don't want people to do any further damage, or maybe you're just not sure how to be different from that because you've been silenced for so long. You don't even know what it sounds like to hear your own voice. You don't know what that will be like, and so that can be pretty scary.
Yeah. And I was just thinking that it may not have been somebody else that took your voice away. It may have all started with you and your own personal insecurities because of maybe how you grew up or things that you witnessed or whatever. But we do need to find our way back. And the way to find your way back is to understand where the root is.
Yeah.
So that you can get that out of there and be able to move forward in a healthy way. When I think about some of the things that I've avoided doing, it's been out of fear. It's been out of a sense of shame that I'm not good enough. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it really has taken me digging into the Word and learning who I am to be able to move forward. But I had to stop and acknowledge first where I was and what places I got stuck.
Yeah. My brother Mervin keeps saying stuff on this thread. Now, he says, I was about to say some men tune in.
Yes. She said, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. And I know I do have to, usually when I talk about my singing voice, I always try to give Mervin credit because he was the producer that I reached out to with my very first song. And I didn't feel like I was afraid that he wouldn't want to work with me because, I'm too old or I'm too this, too that. Yeah. And he encouraged me, and I think we all need people in our lives like that will help bring out our voice. Yeah. And I think that is a gift that Mervin has, is that he is able to help people bring their voices out.
That's true.
And you did the same thing for me, making me do this, She pulled me out of my comfort zone, so I feel blessed to be in a place where I have people in my life that are demanding that I use my voice.
Yeah. And for me, it's easy to pull people out of their comfort zone and let them use and regain their voice, and I'm like back here in the corner.
No.
So it's easy to do that, but it's true what you said too about Mervin, because Mervin has also done the same thing with me. Like, you need to, share more, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And I'm like, I don't see a thing that he's saying in me, but he sees it. And it's the same thing with my husband. And then he would always say, yeah, you see, I tell you a long time, but you wait till a stranger tell you, then you believe.
Well, I think this is an issue that affects men as well, because they get cut down. Yes. They get cut down by one another. They get cut down by women. And we need to be careful with how we speak to one another. We need to guard one another's identity, so to speak, and build each other up instead of tearing each other down.
Girl, that's a whole other topic.
It is
right
a whole
there.
other topic. Yeah,
And
how are we doing on time?
I don't know. Who's watching the channel?
39.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up 1 minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that is true what you said, and I think that deserves a whole different segment because men, we as women don't really fully get, I think, how men can be silenced too, because they don't say it, you know, and we have a lot to do with that, cutting them down and, you know, causing them to feel less of a man.
Yeah.
We have such a important role to play, not just with our husbands, but with our sons.
Yeah.
You know, because we hear a lot of people talking about how no good man a day and all this stuff. If you are raising sons, you better make sure you are raising a good man, because I got 2 girls that needs a good man in the future.
Yes.
And so we all have a role to play. And then there's like Mervin, he's the father of 2 girls.
2 girls, yeah.
And I'm sure that he wants a good man. So we all have a role to play with our sons, with our husbands, and with the other male figures in our lives.
Definitely. So think about that. We've been talking from the book The Dream of You by Joe Saxton, and think about when you lost your voice. Think about how you have changed your life based on things people said, you know, because it really does impact who you are as a person and your ability to fully live your life the way God intended. So take some time to think about those things. And next week we'll come back with part 2.
Yes. Yes. So part 2 we'll touch on how we can get our voice back.
Yes.
I want to end with the last thing that she has said in this chapter. She says, no matter the damage done to you, no matter the running and hiding, this truth remains in force. God sees you.
Yes.
Did you hear? God sees you. He sees you. God turns his eyes and fills his eyes with you. God sees you. And the God who sees you is worth knowing.
Yes.
He has the power to redeem your voice and to give you a new song.
Yeah.
So I want to end with that.
That's right. God sees you. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate you being with us today.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.